We're speaking now with Peter Cook. Peter, can you please explain to us your involvement with the EWA?
Well, yes, I'm currently the past president. I was president for 2 years up until April of this year. I represent on the management committee currently the CIWEM, which is the UK Chartered Institution of Water and Environmental Management, which is one of the member states contributing to the European Water Association overall.
This is the fifth EWA conference of its type. What role, what purpose do they serve in the bigger question of water within the EU?
Well, we tried to create something special 5 years ago, and that was to develop a platform with the Commission whereby they could bring forward a topic which was really important to them, a message that they might want to get across. So it enabled high-ranking Commission officials to come, talk about that, and then to be questioned by people in the audience. So it's not exactly Charterhouse rules, but it provides people with a fairly unique opportunity to understand the latest thinking of the Commission and therefore within the European Parliament, and an opportunity to interrogate them, about where things are going, what policy is being pursued.
We've spoken to a number of speakers from today's conference, but also participants about the floods directive, and the overall consensus appears to be that it's the right tool to tackle these problems. Is that how you view it as well?
Well, I think what it's doing is it's following in concept the Water Framework Directive, which it provides a process. It lays down a process which people should follow. It's not too prescriptive. It gives guidelines. It gives examples of best practice. It gives a common aim that everybody's trying to achieve, but it still allows individual states to implement it in their own particular style and fashion. So there is an overall common goal, but and I think that's the difference. It's maybe the difference in legislation following the Water Framework Directive.
To what extent does it also try to shift the emphasis to outcomes as well as processes?
Well, I think that, as one of the speakers said this morning, it's now. I mean, when I first started out, the question of floods was dealt with by one authority, and it was normally a concrete and steel solution. So hardware stuck in there to prevent floods happening. Now, as the guy this morning said, many more people are being involved, and at times a completely different perspective is being taken into account to make sure that it is a sustainable solution. And that the people involved, all the stakeholders involved, and particularly the public, are starting to realise why these things are done. And in many occasions, some of the softer approaches, as opposed to the hard concrete and steel, are things which are preferred because they provide, as a side effect, they also provide amenity opportunities and leisure opportunities.
Sustainability, very obviously, is the key word here today. Has the overall question of water policy, including these directives, moved progressively towards a more sustainable way of thinking, even as you see it from these 5 conferences?
Well, I think that, throughout my unfortunately now long working life, there has been a change over the last 10 years, very definitely now to sustainable development, and much as the way we talk about climate change has become part of our thinking every day. It's just there. That's the same as sustainability. Now, things have to. We have to think about the future. We have to think about doing things in a different way, which will benefit generations to come. So that's almost inherent now in everything we do.
2 related questions to that. Do you believe that the current directives as they exist provide the right framework and the right tools to do that? And what about the relationship between the directives? Are they enmeshing well, let's say?
I think across all of the directives, there's a lot more that can be done. I think the Water Framework Directive is right from the way it's developed, in as much as that now its implementation is being managed and monitored by the Commission a lot more than previous legislation has been done. It is an excellent tool. It means that the thing progresses. We learn from by experience, and we can adapt it. I mean, it's a very adaptable tool, and the same will be true of the Floods Directive in the way it's being developed. But there's a lot more that can be done, for example, in terms of the relationship with agriculture, land use, and there is, from the point of view of climate change, what's ongoing now is a review of all of the EU legislation and how it might be affected by climate change. That is producing some areas of conflict, as it always will do. But I think it is also helping us to consider things, legislation development in a different way.
And do you believe that the role that conferences such as this that can be have a positive impact on the debates and moving things forward?
But I mean, conferences in general, and EWA organises conferences in other ways. Conferences in general just instruct and are a means of communicating information. As I said at the start, the scope of this one is slightly different. It's meant to provide, and we agree with the Commission on what the topic should be. So it's meant to provide the industry and the administrators with a real opportunity for an exchange of views on what's currently top of the list. I think a lot of our work, though, also can be achieved by having working groups, and that is indeed also the backbone of developing European legislation, because there you really involve, in a very transparent way, all the stakeholders, the experts, to make sure that what is developed in terms of legislation is the best that can be achieved currently, before the politicians get hold of it, obviously. But anyway, that's the scope of the Commission. So we regard this as something significantly different from an ordinary conference. It really is to provide the Commission, as well as the people sitting on the floor, with an opportunity to convey not just technical knowledge, but also some policy and perspective of the Commission at that particular point in time.
Peter Cook, thank you very much.
That's okay, my pleasure.